Hello guys, my name is Martínez, and in this video we are going to work with the stage number 3 of management of form and spaces for second semester. In this stage we're going to see the trigonometric functions of right triangles. Why right triangles? Because in the right triangles we have angles that are 90 degrees that I call acute. Okay, so let's start. Trigonometric functions of acute angles. In this stage, we're going to work with right triangles. The right triangles are this one right here. It is called right because always one angle is going to be acute. The acute angle is the one that measures 90 degrees. We have another two different angles, angle A and angle B. For the angle A, the opposite side is going to be the letter A, and it's opposite because it's to the opposite sides of its angle. And the adjacent side is adjacent to the A is going to be the letter B. For the angle B, the opposite side is going to be the side B or the leg B. And the adjacent side is going to be the letter A or the leg A. Always for the angle C, the opposite is going to be the hypotenuse, represented with letter C. So, now that we already know the elements of the triangle, we have 6 different trigonometric functions: sine, cosine, tangent, cosecant, secant, and cotangent. For the sine is equal to the opposite side over the hypotenuse. For the cosine is equal to the adjacent side over the hypotenuse. And the tangent is equal to the opposite side over the adjacent side. The cosecant, secant, and cotangent are the opposite trigonometric functions of the first three. Why? The cosecant is the opposite of sine. Why? Because it's going to be hypotenuse over the opposite. If you see, we have switched the functions right here. For the secant is the opposite of cosecant, of cosine, sorry. It's equal to hypotenuse over the adjacent. And the cotangent is the opposite of tangent. Why? Because it's going to be adjacent over opposite. I'm going to give you a quick tip to remember all these functions on an easier way to do it. If for you it's difficult to remember all these functions and all these formulas, you just can remember the next word that I'm going to give you. And that word is SOHCAHTOA. Have you heard of SOHCAHTOA? SOHCAHTOA is a very easy way to remember the previous functions that I already teach you. Why? Let's start with this one. So is SOH. S for the function of sine. The sine is equal to opposite over h, that h is hypotenuse. The next one is going to be CAH. C of cosine, that is equal to A, that is adjacent, over h, that is hypotenuse. And finally, we have TOA, TOA. T, that is of tangent, O, that is for opposite, and A, that is for adjacent. If you remember these words, or this whole word, SOHCAHTOA, and you put it like this, you can remember all the functions. The other three functions are the opposite. For example, cosecant, secant, and cotangent. Just remember that are the opposite from the previous one. For example, cosecant is equal to hypotenuse over opposite. Secant is equal to hypotenuse over adjacent. and cotangent is equal to adjacent over opposite. Okay guys, let's start with the first example. In the first example right here, we have this triangle, and the objective is to find the 6 different trigonometric functions for this triangle. In this triangle, this side measures 65 and this side measures 72. We don't know how much measures the hypotenuse. So what do we do in here in order to find out the measures of the hypotenuse? Okay, the first thing that we have to do is to use the Pythagorean theorem. Remember that according to Pythagoras is a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. In this case, remember that a and b can be this leg or this one. It doesn't matter the order that you put it on. Okay, let's start with replacing the values in the formula. A squared is going to be 72 squared plus 65 squared equals to c squared. If I want to clear the letter c, I have to take this square to the other side of the function, and it's going to be 72 squared plus 65 squared is equal to c, and all of this to the square. If you do this in the calculator, you are going to have that the result is going to be the square root of 9,409. That is equal to 97. So, using the Pythagoras theorem, I find out that the letter C, that is hypotenuse, is equal to 97. I'm going to erase this question mark right here, and I'm going to write 97. Now I have all the trace values that I need for the trigonometric functions. Now let's start. Remember that sine is equal to opposite over hypotenuse. I'm going to write SOHCAHTOA right here in order that you can see what I'm doing. Is opposite over hypotenuse, so SOHCAHTOA. Okay? Remember the word SOHCAHTOA. I just put it in this way for you to be easier to remember. Okay, so let's start with the sine of A. All these functions are going to be according to the angle A. Okay? So for the angle A is opposite over hypotenuse. The opposite is equal to 72 over the hypotenuse, that is equal to 97. For the cosine of A is going to be equal to adjacent over hypotenuse. The adjacent is going to be 65 over hypotenuse, that is 97. And finally we have tangent. The tangent is equal to the opposite over the adjacent of the angle A, this one. The opposite is going to be 72 over the adjacent, that is going to be 65. Then we have the last three functions, cosecant, secant, and cotangent. And remember that are going to be the opposite of the first three. For example, the cosecant is the opposite of sine. So that means that you have to switch the values. In this case, cosecant is equal to hypotenuse over opposite, 97 over 72. Secant is equal to hypotenuse over adjacent. This means 97 over 65. And cotangent is equal to adjacent over opposite. That is equal to 65 over 72. And with this, we find out all the 6 different functions for angle A. Now let's start with angle B. For the angle B, it's going to be practically the same, but we have to switch the way that we are seeing the triangle. Now I'm going to be concentrated in this angle, not this one. So all these functions are going to be for angle B. For angle B, let's start with sine. Sine is equal to opposite over hypotenuse. The opposite side of angle B is not 72 now. Now the opposite side is 65. So I'm going to write 65 over the hypotenuse. The hypotenuse is 97. For the angle B, the cosine is equal to adjacent over hypotenuse. The adjacent of angle B is 72, and the hypotenuse is going to be 97. Now let's start with tangent. For tangent, in this angle B is opposite, so opposite over adjacent. That is going to be 65 over adjacent, that is going to be 72. Okay? Now let's start with these ones. Cosecant. The cosecant is the opposite of sine, so we're going to write 97 over 65. The secant is the opposite of cosine, so we're going to write 97 over 72. And the cotangent is the opposite of tangent, so we're going to write 72 over 65. And this example is now done. We find out all the different functions for angle A and angle B. Remember that for angle C, we cannot find functions, trigonometric functions. Why? Because the opposite side is the hypotenuse, and this angle is always going to be 90 degrees. Okay, guys, probably you're wondering, what is the main purpose of these trigonometric functions? I'm going to take the previous example for this one. Okay, we have the same triangle. We already know the 6 different functions for angle A and for angle B, but I'm just going to take these 4 examples right here for this exercise. I have the sine of A that we already know, that is 72 over 97, the sine of B, the tangent of A, and the tangent of B. The main purpose for the trigonometric functions is to know the measure of the angle that we're talking about. We already know that this angle right here, the angle C, is 90 degrees. But we have no idea until now what is the measure of angle B and angle A. With trigonometric functions, we are going to find out the measure of the angle A and angle B. Okay, let's start with the calculator. Sine of A. The first thing that I have to do is to pick trigonometric functions. In this case, I choose sine. Sine is equal to 72 over 97. I'm going to write in the calculator, I'm going to press 72 over 97 is equal to 0.74226841. The next step to do in here is to press the button of shift, and I'm using, remember, the sign. In your calculator right here, you have a button that it says sign. You press this one. Remember that previously I pressed shift. Press shift, and then you're gonna press equal. After you're doing this, you have to press this button to convert this result into degrees. You press it, and the result is 47 degrees with 55 minutes. I'm going to write the answer right here. 47 degrees with 55 minutes. Okay? How do I know that this is right? I can use another function for the angle A. In this case, I'm going to use the tangent. Okay? The tangent is equal to opposite over adjacent. The opposite is 72 over the adjacent is 65. And it has to be the same result. Why it has to be the same? Because we are talking about of the measure of the same angle. Okay? In this case, angle A. Okay, so I'm going to press in the calculator 72 over 65 because we are doing the tangent, okay? 65. I'm going to press equals, and the result is 1.1067, 92, 308. Then we have to first press shift, and then now I'm using the tangent, not the sine or cosine, the tangent. Okay? If you see in your calculator, it's going to be something like tangent minus 1. Then you have to press the button equals to, and it's this result. However, I have to convert the result into degrees. So I'm going to press this button right here. Remember this one? And the result is 47 degrees with 55 minutes. That is the same result that I had using the sine. If you use sine, cosine, tangent, even cosecant, secant, and cotangent, it has to be the same result. Why? Because we are talking about the measure of this angle. So this answer right here is 47 degrees with 55 minutes. Okay? Now let's start with the measure of the angle B. For the angle B, I got two different trigonometric functions. I am using sine and I'm using tangent. Okay? Sine of B is equal to 65 because it's the opposite over the hypotenuse over 97. So I'm gonna press in the calculator 65 divided by 97 is equal to this result. Then I'm gonna first press the button shift and then the button of sine. Okay, now I have to press the button equals to, and finally I have to press the button of degrees to convert this result into degrees. And the answer is 42 degrees with 4 minutes. These answers cannot be the same because we are talking of the measures of two different angles. However, if I do the addition of this angle plus this angle plus this angle, the result always has to be, I'm going to write it right here, angle A plus angle B plus angle C always has to be 180 degrees. Why? Because remember that the sum of the angles inside of a triangle always is 180. Okay? So I'm going to do it. 47 degrees, 55 minutes, plus 42 degrees, 4 minutes, plus 90 degrees. It has to be close to 180. It's not going to be exactly 180 because we are using decimals, minutes right here. But if I round up these numbers, it has to be 180, okay? So don't freak out, it's not 180. It's, like I told you, it's 179.69 minutes, okay? Why is not 180? Because I didn't round up these numbers. If I round up these numbers, it has to be 180, okay? But it's okay. Okay, now let's do the last example of tangent and B, and it has to be the same result because we are talking about angle B, and right here is also angle B. Okay, for tangent of B is equal to 65 over 72. So I'm going to press in the calculator 75 over 72 is equal, this result, I'm going to press the button shift, and then tangent, and then equals, and finally degrees, and is the same result that I got in the sine. 42 degrees, 4 minutes. 42 degrees and 4 minutes. Okay, I didn't do the cosine, but you can do it in your house to check that the answer is correct. Okay? Remember that you can write in the comments below if you have any questions about something that I'm doing right here. I'm going to try to answer them. Okay? Okay guys, so far in this video we have learned the 6 different trigonometric functions of right triangles. There are sine, cosine, tangent, cosecant, secant, and cotangents. These trigonometric functions are useful if you want to know the measure of the angles A and B in a right triangle. Remember that these functions are only useful if we are working with right triangles. Otherwise, we are not going to be able to use them. In the next part of the video, we're going to do the first activity. You have to do this activity in your home and try to answer by yourself. However, the answers are going to be in the end of the video. Okay guys, let's start with the first activity that you have to do by yourself. Okay, I'm just going to give you the instructions. In this activity, you have to find out all the 6 different functions for angle A and all the 6 different functions for angle B. Okay, finally, you have to tell me the measure of the angle B and the measure of the angle of the angle A. A quick tip: to start this activity, first you have to find out the measure of the leg B. Okay, how do you do that? Using the Pythagorean theorem. Okay, that is a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. So pause this video right now, try to do it by yourself in your house, and then when you finish it, you can continue watching this video because I'm going to write the answers right here. Ready? Okay, so pause the video right now. Okay guys, let's start with the answers now. Okay, I'm going to start doing the angle A. Okay, in order to know the trigonometric functions of the angle A, I have to first find out what is the measure of this leg, that is leg B. In order to know this answer, I have to use the Pythagoras theorem, that is equal to a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. Okay, I already know the measure of c, that is equal to 17. However, I don't know the measure of b, so I have to clear this equation in order to find out the value of b. B is equal, this square is a square root, to c squared. This is positive, comes to this side in negative, minus a squared. Okay, now I'm going to replace these letters with these values. B is equal to the square root of 17 squared minus 15 squared. And b is equal to a square root of 64, that is equal to 8. Okay, now I'm going to raise this question mark, and I already know that b is equal to a. Okay, now, so now that I know this measure, I can do the 6 different trigonometric functions for angle A, as I told you before. So I'm going to write sine of A, cosine of A, tangent of A, cosecant of A, secant of A, and cotangent of A. Okay, now let's start with sine. Sine, remember the word so, ka, toa. Sine is equal to opposite over hypotenuse. So the opposite of A is 15 over the hypotenuse, that is 17. Okay, cosine of A, cosine is equal to adjacent over hypotenuse. The cosine is equal to 8 over 17, and the tangent is equal to opposite over adjacent, so is 15 over 8. Remember that these last 3 are the opposite for the first 3. So this means that cosecant is equal to 17 over 15, secant is equal to 17 over 8, and cotangent is equal to 8 over 15. Okay, now that I have the 6 different functions, the last thing that I have to do for angle A is to find out the measure of angle A. Okay, so how do I know the measure? I'm going to use my calculator, and I can choose whichever of these 3 functions. I also can use these ones, however in these calculators I don't have the buttons right here. So next in another video I'm going to tell you how to use these different functions. Okay, so I'm going to work with this one in the calculator, sorry. Okay, let's start. I can use whichever I want, sine, cosine, or tangent. Let's use cosine because we haven't used it. Okay, cosine is equal to A over 17. We press equals, we press then shift, and we press cosine because we're using cosine. And then we press also once again equals, and finally we press the button of degrees, and the measure of angle A is equals to 71 degrees with 55 minutes. Okay, this is the answer for angle A. Okay, now let's start with the answers for angle B. For angle B, mark it in red right here, we have first the sign. Sine is equal to opposite over hypotenuse. So sine of B is equal to the opposite, that is 8, over the hypotenuse, that is 17. The cosine is equal to adjacent over hypotenuse. The adjacent is equal to 15 over hypotenuse, that is 17. And the tangent is equal to opposite over adjacent. So this is 8 over adjacent, that is 15. Remember, these last three functions are the opposite of these ones. So cosecant is going to be 17 over 8. Secant is going to be 17 over 15. And cotangent is going to be 15 over 8. Okay? So I already have the 6 different functions for angle B. Now the only thing that I have left to do is the measure of angle B. Okay? So I'm going to choose whichever one of these 3 different functions. Let's start using sine, okay? I'm going to use sine. So I'm going to press in the calculator 8 divided by 17 equals to this answer. Then we press shift, then we press sine, then we press equals, and finally we press the button of degrees. And the measure of this angle is 28 degrees 4 minutes. 28 degrees with 4 minutes. Okay? So finally, to finish this activity, I'm gonna sum up all the angles in order that the answer is correct. Okay, so I know that the angle A is equals to 61 degrees with 55 minutes. Angle B equals to 28 degrees with 4 minutes. And angle C, remember that always angle C is going to be 90 degrees. Why? Because it's a right angle. Okay, so this has to be, the addition of these angles has to be 180. Okay, always. Let's find out in the calculator. Remember that I told you that because we are using minutes in here, probably the answer is going to be very, very close to 180, but not exactly. If I round up these numbers, it has to be exactly, okay? So I'm going to press 61 minutes with 61 degrees with 55 minutes plus 28 degrees with 4 minutes plus 90 degrees, and is equals to 179.98. Okay, I just have 2 decimals of difference with the 180. Why? Because I use minutes right here and I didn't round it up. So this activity is already done. I hope you could do it in your house by yourself. Remember that you can write your questions below in the comments of the video, and I'm going to try to answer them. Okay? This is the first part of the stage number 3, and continue with me in the second video where we are going to see the second part of the stage 3. With this video, we have seen the first part of the stage number 3 of management of form and spaces. Now you can work with the 6 different trigonometric functions that are formed in right triangles, that are sine, cosine, tangent, secant, cosecant, and cotangent. And now you can use them to know the measure of angles by only knowing the measure of the sides and the hypotenuse. Remember that we still have left to see the second part of the stage. However, that video is going to be uploaded in the next days. Thank you for watching.